Chambers here, two-time Olympian and Olympic bronze medalist, and you're listening or watching another episode of Global Sports Channel's Sports Personality Spotlight. Look, I'm trying to create some suspense and some atmosphere here. Anyway, I have a great up-and-coming star in the world of golf for you. Now, I'm not good with my Russian, so I'm going to try and make sure I pronounce his name properly. It's Artem Yalovenko. Yalovenko. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did great.
I'm working on my Russian, right? So where are you calling from today?
Oops. I am calling. Currently, we are in North Carolina. We are right now stopping at Duke University. We just played a kind of a preparatory round for an upcoming tournament we have with the DePaul golf team.
Right. So when you say we, you are?
I am, right now, I'm with the golf team at DePaul.
Right.
We are a Division I golf team.
Sweet. And you didn't start out with DePaul, right? Where did you start out?
No, I went to UCF, which is a University of Central Florida program. I transferred last semester, and right now I am in Chicago. I like it a lot. I wanted to move out to the city since I actually got to America, but just so happened that it only happened last year.
Listen, the last time I was in Chicago, the snow was up to my eyeballs, and I said, probably not for me. What's the weather like right now?
Right now, it's actually beautiful. Well,
nice.
It's like mid 50s degrees when we just left, but for the winter, we don't actually stay there.
You're like, we got to get out of town.
Yeah. We as a team, we need to practice somewhere, and obviously Chicago. I mean, we could do it indoors, but it's not great.
Right.
I went to Florida along with other members of the team, and then we had in January we had tournaments in Florida as well. So
right.
We spent very little time in Chicago, to be honest.
Hey, I'm not gonna say like all you people out there from Chicago, we love it, but sometimes you got to go.
Yeah.
No,
you really have to go.
You mentioned that before coming to America. So tell us, where were you before coming to America?
So, first of all, I moved out to America when I was 13. First time I came to America I came with a golf team of the Russian national team.
Right.
They were older guys. I was only like 11 years old when I came with them. And I came under supervision of their head coach, who was my personal coach at the time. And then we went to this golf academy in Orlando, Florida, and then me and my mom really liked it, and we decided that I should go start an education in America. So when I was 12, I moved out to Orlando, Florida. I went to the golf academy, and that's how my journey is going currently.
So when you were 12 moving out to the academy, were you with your parents or were you just with the team? How? Because I remember when I moved out to Los Angeles, I was 18 and I was like crying all the time. So, being 12, that's pretty young. How did that experience go?
Yeah, I was actually very young. Now that I look back in retrospect, but at the time, I was just really enjoying having the ability to golf and improve the tremendous amount that I have. I didn't exactly. Basically, the way we stayed, it was we had a house parent and there was like 7 guys
right.
in the same house. So I always had company and almost like brothers in a way. And I had that for 4 years actually. And
right.
My parents came on and off, but obviously not as much as I would have liked, or not as much as a traditional kind of person in America has.
Right.
But it is what it is, and it actually taught me to work on my own to improve the goals that I have set out for myself.
Right. Now, you said that you were one of the youngest, if not the youngest, right? And you've got all these older guys. What are some of the things that you either had to go through, or maybe even some of the things that you learned by being around, an older bunch of fellas and you being one of the youngest?
Yeah. Well, first thing I learned is the crazy amount of physical activity they do. We would go. We would have like workouts twice a day. One time at 6 a.m. and the second time at 6 p.m. And I was like an 11-year-old kid, and I
Yeah.
was trying to keep up with them, and they were like flipping tires and doing these crazy flexibility stuff that the 11-year-old didn't even think those things existed.
Right.
I definitely learned to set kind of a bar to what I should aspire to pretty
Right.
early. Well, but that comes with kind of having these 18-year-old basically athletes
Right.
being near you at all times. So
Right.
it was a
So
good
when
experience for sure.
So when you got to be 18, looking back, would you, like, if you saw another 12-year-old coming through, would you kind of hey, listen, you don't have to try and copy me, or would you say, you know what, you can really learn from this? Like, how would you handle if when you got to 18 or the age you are now, seeing a young up and coming from your experience?
For sure. I because of all the experiences that I've had when I was a kid and trying to improve by myself, I really see the value in attempting to educate, or at least pushing the younger aspiring athletes to work harder and to educate themselves in all aspects. I mean, like every time I see a kid who I think has a tremendous potential, I'll always come up to him. Obviously,
Yeah.
it it does. I don't even have a doubt in my mind. I just want everybody to improve. I think it's fascinating. I think
Right.
the path of improvement, and you should definitely know as an Olympian, I think the path of improvement is fascinating, purely
Right.
because of how hard it is. But yeah.
Do you think when you're looking at the up and coming now, do you think their work ethic is the same?
What a great question. I think. I mean, it depends on the person,
Right.
for one, but it also is different. The amount of information they have about a lot of stuff that even I, a Gen Z, didn't have at the time when I was improving as a kid is vastly different.
Right.
But we take what we can get, and obviously they have this influx of information, and it's definitely different. But they definitely have the same drive. You could see it in their eyes.
Right. Right. So growing up, you obviously didn't just start golf at age 11. You must have been doing it for how long before that moment when you went off with the guys to join this group? How long had you been golfing prior to that? And obviously someone must have seen something to say, hey, listen, he needs to be taking this a bit more seriously. What was the path prior to then?
Well, I actually started golfing when I was 10.
Wow, so that is
So it
not
wasn't.
long ago.
Well, technically, I started golfing when I was way earlier, but it started with mini golf.
Right.
And I actually see that trend fairly often in the kind of undeveloped golfing countries now, where,
Interesting.
yeah. But then when I was 9, that's when I had my first golf lesson. It was in the public high school that I went to in Moscow. Obviously, it was on and off. From then on, I would practice. I had maybe like 3 lessons after that, and then when I was 10, I quit all the other extracurricular activities that I had, which were acrobatics, basketball, soccer, snowboarding.
Right.
And I focused solely on golf. And from that point on, I trained really hard. And then we went to a golf club where the national team coach was. And then this is all according to my mom because I don't particularly remember this.
Right.
She was like, she told me that when I came out and we had a lesson, and I had a lesson with him, he was like, he basically said that he has potential.
Right.
And that's where it all began, where she invited me to a bunch of his training camps with other players and training camps with the national team in the end, and then I went to America.
Right. So you did, like you said, which I love, because I love it when youngsters do a whole bunch of stuff to really find their path, to find their thing, acrobatics and snowboarding. I mean, that's a true variety. Did your mom, was it just, the coach recognizing a talent in you, why you zeroed in on golf, or was there other reasons why golf became the thing that you would drop everything else for?
Well, I did snowboarding for a significantly long time, and I also did acrobatics for a very long time. Snowboarding, I really love. Even to this day, I love snowboarding and all ski sports. However, I realized that I don't really want to spend time in the snow all year. Acrobatics, on the other hand, me and my parents didn't see, a future in a way. Right. I wasn't really a performing kid. I just really enjoyed to do the tricks.
Gotcha.
But and also I did soccer, but I still have no talent in soccer whatsoever. So golf kind of fell into this middle portion where I was really driven by it to improve, where I saw a lot of similarities to it in terms of other sports. Like in acrobatics, you have flexibility that you very much need in golf, and I was probably a little bit. I had a little bit of a competitive advantage at that point.
Right.
Yeah, I just kind of fell into that, and then obviously I had people surrounding me who were encouraging me and telling me that I have potential. Without that, I probably wouldn't have continued.
Right. Now, I'm from the UK, born and raised, and the culture, just the way the sports culture is, the mentality of athletes, I found that when I came to the US, it was very different from where I was from. What's the culture like in Moscow, and how different was it when you compare that to, say, where you are now, the US?
Yeah. Russia is a unique place in terms of this mindset, for sure. In part because we're very focused on very few sports. One is soccer,
right.
Hockey, and then you have gymnastics and figure skating, and all of them are, they're televised at all times. Golf is, I'd say fairly new sport in Russia. The first golf club in Moscow or in Russia opened in 1990. We still have only, I'm guessing here, but I'd say 60 golf courses around the whole country.
Wow.
In comparison, Orlando, Florida has over 200 courses.
Right. Right.
As a one city.
Just one place, yeah.
Yeah, and additionally, the stigma of the fact that golf is kind of a privileged sport is also present in Russia. Which, in a way, it is fairly true. However, there are ways of beginning to golf. Like, I began to golf through a public high school system. Middle school system.
Right.
And still, majority of Russian golf is ran through national-based organizations that attempt to improve the amount of golfers in the country.
Right.
So therefore, it's compared to America, it's nothing like it. In America, everybody, and I think everybody in America sees a value in competition, and sport provides that.
Right.
And I think they really respect the people that come out on top, regardless of the sport.
Right.
Because they see the hard work. Whereas in Russia, there are times when people don't understand the sport, therefore they won't consider you as a fair representation of the country, or of something.
Right. I love that you speak about the stigma of the sport, which is that it's kind of for privileged people, and it's something that in the sport that I came from, which is track and field, there's like this very wide range between, the athletes on one end and the athletes that you see right at the top. And financially, that can be a huge thing. And even some of the people at the top, like they can't just not work, or a lot of the people still, even in that upper middle bracket, still have to get jobs and things like that in order to maintain their career. What's it like for a golfer in the spectrum of things? Because I think the majority of people see the Tiger Woods, who are earning millions and millions and millions and millions, right? And what's it like for the rest trying to make a career out of that? And especially for someone like yourself, who maybe comes from Russia, whose country perhaps doesn't maybe invest as much as, say, in America, who has thousands of golf courses, just in one state. What is the financial side like for the typical golfer trying to make a career out of this?
Yeah, it's the path of towards professional golf, towards the top of professional golf is actually pretty interesting, I'd say. So basically, you have two tours. You have the American Tour PGA, and then you have the European Tour. And then you have the sub schools where you have to qualify for the sub school in order to advance to other stages, and therefore, in the end, advance to the top stage. Players that don't have that are trying to qualify to the very first stage of the tours. They are. I've met a lot of them. They're basically living in vans and trying to couch surf, and but they're so driven. It's like golf is like one of our golf coaches in Russia always reminds me that golf is like a very addictive narcotic.
Right.
It can make you couch surf, and you'll love it.
Right.
And I'm certain that other sports are the same way.
Yeah.
But they couch surf. They try to scramble as much money as they can for qualifying. And then if they don't qualify, it's usually they find a job and they quit golf.
Right.
Which I so hope that doesn't happen to me.
Right. Yes, we hope so too. Absolutely. So, one of the things that we do with Global Sports Channel and Love Athletes, which is, we are looking at what's the athlete's journey and what do they need. So what would it take for those people, like you said, living in vans, or you keeping your fingers crossed to hope that, that doesn't happen to you? What would help the athletes, be able to make this work, even if maybe they don't qualify, but they still are talented enough to go to the next level? They just need more coaching or whatever it might be. What would help that process be able to become a reality?
Yeah. Great question. Thought about it a lot, actually. The one thing I see very often, especially in America, is that there's a tendency for players to be less open-minded, and I'm also kind of guilty of that. But that comes with, having a team of coaches around you. You have to be radically open-minded about all the ideas and ways that benefit from a very almost scientific standpoint, and you also just have to be fascinated with the golf game. You have to be able to willfully go out and practice for 10 hours a day.
Right.
And there are players who are notorious for not being able to do that, but I think the reality of sport is changing in undefinable ways where that cannot be avoided anymore.
Right.
You have to be able to go to the gym and exert as much power as you can, even for things such as golf swing, which for a very long time has been stigmatized or going on the cart and drinking some beer.
We've been watching too many movies.
Oh yeah. But it is what it is, and it's just you have to be fascinated. You have to work hard, and you have to understand. You have to understand what is the best for you,
Right.
as well as what what the best for your golf game is. You have to be very rational and not be able to be subdued by this very addictive narcotic.
Right. So now that's on the individual level. Is there anything that you think the federations, the governing bodies could do to help this drug, work better for the athletes in general, like to help the athletes? Is there anything the higher ups could do to make this work?
Well, I think in countries like Russia, the higher ups are doing very well. They're definitely doing good things.
Right.
I also think they're doing a lot of good things, and some things could be added, some things could be taken out. But the more they focus on improving the youngest players from as many regions as you can, that the better it is for the long term of golf, and particularly in Russia, and I'm guessing in other countries that haven't had that don't have the same golfer population as like America or UK for an example. However, it also comes with time.
Right.
America has had golf for 300 years, so, and UK for even longer, and that's where all the best players are right now from. Mm-hmm. So I think they have a fairly, they have smart people working for them, and they have a good strategy for what they're doing.
Right. Now, when I think about golf, I think of it as, a very mental game. And correct me if I'm wrong. How does that work for you? Is that a part of your process? Because I know there's a lot of track and field athletes that just work on the physical, and maybe now and then, right before a race, they might kind of like think about what they're going to do during the actual race, but the mental training is not actually a part of the process. Is that the same for golfers? Do you guys actually train mentally, or is it kind of like most athletes that I've seen? Well, probably not the higher ups, but just the general athlete tends to sort of like go with the flow and see what happens. Do you take actual time to sit down and work on the mental side? Because boy, that looks like a lot of concentration required.
There is a lot of concentration required. I personally, I meditate. I have this technique which allows me to enable me to be focused on one thing.
Right.
Which is, I was taught that actually when I was, one of the first things I was taught when I came to America was that technique of meditation.
Right.
In particular, that was because I was a pretty rowdy and angry kid. But it still stuck with me, and I've been doing it ever since. And I've had people that I show this technique and have benefited from it as well. But there's obviously, for golf, you have to just play for it under as much pressure as you can and learn to enjoy the pressure as often as it was said, as it has been said, but you have to enjoy it. I mean, when else are you going to be able to experience the handshaking over the last 2-foot putt?
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, you talk about meditation. Is there a particular technique that you do? Because I might need it. I'm a little rowdy myself, so I do meditation, but it doesn't seem to quiet my storm.
Oh, for sure. In short, I can write you an email later.
Oh,
but you basically
awesome.
close your eyes and you focus on the cold air coming in through the nose and hot air coming out through the nose.
Right.
And you do that for as long as you can. not attempting to block out any external thoughts, but just letting them pass.
Right.
The more you focus on the temperature of the air coming in, that's the way you meditate, basically.
Right. Nice. Well, I do a bit of meditation, but I feel like I'm just sitting there talking to myself a lot of the time. So it ends up being visualization instead. So
We
we're
golfers
working
talk
on
to
it.
ourselves a lot of times, too.
I bet. I bet. So what are your goals? Like you said, you guys are in the middle of traveling. What are some of your short-term goals? And then, what are some of the longer-term goals? Do you see yourself as, someone who could make the PGA? What is it for Artem?
Yes. Well, my short-term goal is win the tournament that is next week. Sorry.
Yay!
My goal and then I have a bunch of performance goals that I want to improve. I'm supposed to gain speed in my golf swing, which I'm already doing, and I've seen like insane results. And other performance goals regarding golf swing and sports performance. Longer term, my plan is to attempt to go to the top of the tour.
Right.
And that will be after I finish my bachelor's degree in the fall. And
what are you studying?
I'll start from the very bottom and I'll go all the way up.
Nice. What are you studying at the moment?
I'm studying management informational systems.
Interesting. And is there a particular career path that you'd like to follow with that? Assuming you're not golfing around the world.
Well, there's a lot of career paths that I could take away from that because it's primarily technical. It's a fairly technical major with lots of coding. I could do web developer, which I was thinking of. However, I'm thinking more of project manager or consultant management. But we'll see. I'm still a sophomore, and I have a lot of.
Oh yeah, you're just a baby. So what do you think? Yeah, no, trust me. Being 43 years old now, I'm like, man, I was in college. I was such a baby. So what do you think though? Like when you think about how far you've come since you started this career and where you want to go, what do you think that it's going to take to make that a reality?
What it's going to take for me to be a professional golfer a reality?
Absolutely.
Well, on paper, to be a professional golfer, all you have to do is sign a paper.
Well, you know what I mean, like to be at the top, your actual goal. Don't play with me.
But well, I just have to firstly say that it is it's my biggest dream to be on the PGA Tour and to win major championships. And I'm ready to take whatever it takes. I have these short-term goals planned and long-term goals planned.
Yeah.
And these goals, step by step, I will achieve what I'm looking for. If it takes me, working, 3 hours a day and then golfing for the other 21, I'll do it.
Right. That's dedication right there.
Yeah, I'll follow my passions to the end of the road.
I love it. So, if you could write a letter now, as your age that you are now, to 12-year-old you, what would you have in it? What would you put in it? What would you tell him?
Oh man, that's super easy. Calm your freaking ego, bro. As I said, I was a rowdy little kid.
Right.
They made me learn a meditation technique when I was 12. That's a sign of trouble.
Right.
But definitely dwell your ego, and I be as curious as you can. with the digital age that I've experienced in my lifetime, it's very difficult to stay on the things that are actually important. And I'd just be curious about the world and try to achieve the best of your goals as you can.
Right. That's actually a good question, though, because, I do see a lot of people distracted. I've even heard someone say, I didn't have a good race because I was reading what people said on social media and, my feelings were affected. How much do you see that happening with you or people around you?
You know what? It's crazy. So as a management informational systems, part of my kind of underlying job is to understand how well information systems on the web work.
Right.
And I've really learned that what's targeted, the fact that dopamine of a person is targeted, it can change a whole life path of a person in a single second if it just clicks the right thing. And I've seen some kids, especially now in my old high school, that are just totally consumed by the things that are said on social media, and without realization that it's mostly digital world that feeds on the fact that you have these underlying human ambitions. But you can't really control it in a way. You just have to learn how to be as productive as you can with it.
Right. Absolutely. So far, what would you say is your most treasured moment of your career?
Oh man, when I say this all the time, and it almost sounds like I'm bragging, but I played a European tour event when I was 14. But it genuinely was probably the most influential experience of my whole entire career.
Right.
And because I learned, first of all, what playing with a professional golfer is at such a young age, that is on European tour, on the top tour. And because it was just, I realized it's so fun.
Right.
There's pressure. That's where I really learned that pressure is actually more interesting than scary. And it was just a great moment, and it was a beautiful tournament. And the course that it was just beautiful. It's a Skalkovo golf course. It's in right downtown Moscow. I miss it.
I love that. Well, I hope that you have many more moments like that. And I'm actually glad that you're proud of that moment and happy about that moment, and brag if you want to, because quite honestly, I think what a lot of athletes do is we're always looking at the next thing. And so we don't give ourselves credit for the things that we've accomplished along the way. So always remember to give yourself a pat on the back for everything you accomplished, and don't feel like you're bragging, you're just stating the facts. So, I love that. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the PGA, and doing your thing. So make sure you write that down with pen and paper as one of your goals, because I'm sure you know how all that works.
I have it written down in pen and paper, actually.
Yeah, I knew you would. Anyone that was, 12 years old around all that great environment has some success skills. So I've no doubt that you have all the tools that you need. So, it's been a real joy chatting with you. I'm really looking forward to you. If people want to know, what you're up to, and they want to follow you and cheer you on when you're on the PGA sooner rather than later, how can they follow you? How can they find out more about you?
Well, first of all, you can follow me on my Instagram, which is Yalovenko. Oh, actually, I changed it. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's AR3TsEmiy.
Okay.
And I have 3 T's because my first name, Artem, is taken. But regardless, that's where I am primarily if I post anything. So check out on that. If you want to find out about me, you just read the most recent newspaper, and I'll hopefully be winning some majors.
There you go. I love it. That's the confidence we need. Awesome. And final question. This is a deep one. So get your thinking cap on. What do you want the world to know?
What do I want the world to know? I want the world to know that it's okay to spend countless hours if you have a passion. It's okay to spend countless hours on your passion if you have a passion, and it is totally okay to have a time when you feel left out.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. They say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So I concur.
Yeah, that's in simpler words, yes.
All right. Well, like I said, it's been a real joy chatting with you. We wish you really good luck in your competition coming up this week. Keep us informed and good luck with everything. And hopefully we'll be interviewing you again soon.
Tasha, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having an interview with me. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Ciao for now. Oh my gosh. Great spirit and great attitude. You can always tell someone who's been in the sport for such a long time because they're just a way about them, because they have an understanding about what it takes. His whole mental approach, especially when he sees pressure as exciting. There's so many people who just literally under pressure they fall apart, but that is the attitude of a champion. So it's really exciting to talk to him, and I hope I'll be interviewing him again soon about the successes he's had with the accomplishments he wants to create in his life coming up soon. So hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget, like, follow, share, whatever you got to do on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this from, and make sure you let people know about this, because there is such a bigger cause going on behind this, with really helping athletes get what they need to follow their passions. Like he said, sometimes we this is something that if we're passionate about it, we're going to be doing it for hours and hours. But for a lot of athletes, it's not possible. They run into so many brick walls, and we're trying to break down some of those walls. So make sure you go to www.globalsportschannel.com and also loveathletes.com, because we do. Ciao for now.